And thank you for the lovely introduction. I attended Mark and Jules's book launch a couple of weeks ago before we went into lockdown, and to say that I was proud is an absolute understatement. If you've not read their story, it's absolutely incredible what they've been through, and to come out the other side still positive and wanting to inspire other people. It was an absolute honour to be part of their journey and help to bring their book to life. So thank you both for allowing me to be part of your journey. So I've met some of you before, some of you it's the first time of meeting, so hello. So as I mentioned briefly in the introduction, I'm the author of 5 books. I also work as a ghostwriter, so I write books on behalf of other authors, and I also mentor authors that want to write their books themselves. And these authors, I call them heart-led authors, because they have overcome some adversity in their life, and then they want to make a difference with their story and share this with others. And I just want to share a bit about how I became an author, because I call myself an accidental author. And I've got my books here, and I'm just going to very briefly share them with you. But as I'm doing this, I would like you to just have a guess as to what you think my job was before becoming a full-time author, mentor, ghostwriter. Now, I know some of you know, so if you do know, I'd ask you not to guess, but if you just want to have a guess and put your comments in the chat box, I just thought it'd be a bit of fun. So what was my last job before I was a full-time author, ghostwriter, and author mentor? So my first book is called The Girl Who Refused to Quit, and this is the true story of my life. After I'd written this book, I didn't think that I was going to retire off the royalties and that my life was going to fall perfectly into place. But what I didn't expect, that just 1 year later that my life would collapse again for the 3rd time. At that time, it was quite horrific. Me and my children lost our house. We had to start our life again. We had no financial resources. I wasn't even sure if I could carry on with my business. But after going to see a counsellor, he told me that I had coped remarkably well with everything that I'd been through, and that what I had been through should have taken me up to 2 years to reach a point of acceptance, but that I had done it myself in 6 weeks. At this point, I didn't walk out of his office and go and write my next book, but this experience inspired me to write my second book, which is called Rule Your World. And this is a self-help personal transformation book about how I got my head back on track to get my life back on track. I was then asked to run a webinar on how to write a book. And I'll be honest, my first thought was, have I got enough content for this? Can I speak for an hour on how to write a book? But after that hour, I had an influx of really positive comments and feedback. People were asking me, do I mentor authors? Would I be their mentor? So I said, yeah, give me a couple of days and I will. So I literally ran with that inspiration of sharing with others how I had written my books. And this inspired me to write my 3rd book, which is called Share Your World, How to Write a Life-Changing Book in 60 Days. Whilst all this was going on, my mum had been diagnosed with dementia. It was now 5 years ago, and was rapidly declining. So as well as running my business, at one point I was working 2 freelance jobs as well. I'm a single parent to my 2 children, so I was bringing them up on my own, plus writing my books, plus I was then caring for my mum to give my dad a break, because she was at a point when her dementia was rapidly declining and it was having a huge impact on our family. It was 2 years ago now that my mum went into a care home, and this was an extremely difficult part of my life. When she went into the care home, she no longer knew who I was at all. And I realised that I was grieving for someone that was still alive, which was incredibly challenging. But what I knew is that I needed to share this experience and write about it to help others. So this book was published in May last year, called I've Lost My Mum. It was by far the hardest book that I've ever written, but at the same time, it was the most powerful book that I've ever written to help me with my own healing, which is I'm going to share a little bit more about in a moment. So this was published in May last year. And then in September last year, I had an inspired idea to write my first collaboration book. So I mentored 14 different authors from September last year, and each of those authors shared one chapter of their life about overcoming adversity and how they wanted to make a difference with their story. And this was my 5th book that was published in February, just literally a couple of months ago, called The Girls Who Refused to Quit. And I also wrote a chapter in this as well. So that's my 5 books, and I'm now working on my 6th, which is The Girls Who Refused to Quit Volume 2. The 5th book had such an incredible response, and lots of people were asking me, could they be part of the next volume? So that is where I'm at the moment, working on my 6th book. So when Mark and Jules asked me to speak today, when I was going to be speaking at the Real Life Trainers Hangout, it was going to initially be about writing a book. And those of you that have been to the Real Life meetings will know that I have spoken about this before. But with everything going on in the world at the moment, it got me thinking about how powerful writing can be for wellness, which is what inspired this slot. And I know that many of you work as trainers and you're helping your clients with their mental health, but actually it starts with you. And for us to be able to help others with their mental health or emotional well-being, we need to be in a good place ourselves. So I didn't realise when I was writing my books that a massive side effect was going to be that I was going to release and process so much emotion that I didn't even realise that I had stored. So I didn't used to be able to speak about events that happened in my life without getting a lump in my throat, or without my heart racing, or tears coming up in my eyes. The book about my mum is a very good example about this. Even 1 year, 18 months ago, I couldn't have spoken about my mum having dementia and the massive impact that that's had on me without crying or getting very upset. But what I've realised is that when you're writing about something that brings up emotion, that evokes emotion, it's actually a really beautiful healing transformation tool. And this is something that I didn't realise was happening. And a lot of people meet me and they say, wow, you're so positive, you have a lovely energy, and you always see, the bright side of things, your glass is always half full, how do you do it? And at first I was like, oh, I'm not sure, isn't everyone like this? And don't get me wrong, I have my wobbles. I'm not perfect 100% of the time, but most of the time I am very positive. So this is what got me thinking and made me realise that because I've written about so much of my life, it's helped me to process so much of the emotion that has come up, and it's enabled me to make peace with my past. And it's also enabled me to give parts of my life that at one point I would have loved to have just forgotten about, put them away in the cupboard, shut them away, not even thought about them. But actually it's enabled me to process the emotion from that, from the past, but it's also given that purpose, if that makes sense. It's given, what's happening with my mum, it's horrific. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but it's given it purpose, because now hundreds, if not thousands of people have read my book. It's helped them. I spoke at the UK Dementia Congress last year. I've spoken at Health Education England. Because of writing my book, it's not only helped me on a professional level, it's increased my clients, it's increased speaking events, it's increased training, but from a personal level, it has enabled me to make peace with my past and process that emotion. So that is why today I wanted to help you with writing for your own wellness, because this might be something that you use with your clients already, and perhaps again you could share in the comments if you already use writing tools with your clients. That's fantastic, but today is actually more about you and looking after your own emotional well-being. And I've got a very simple exercise that I'm going to share with you, that if you're open to try this at home, that you can have a go and do some writing for your own wellness. So let me just have a look in the chat and see what everyone thought my last job was. Oh my God, who put pole dancer? I think that was either Mark or Jules, I'm not sure. Oh my God, Sean said the police. I love that. Gary thought I was a teacher. Russell thought I was a project manager. John thought I was a stunt driver. I love that. I did want to be a stunt woman at one point, actually. So that was a very good guess from John. Gordon says HR consultancy. Oh, Emma says bank manager. Interesting. Another teacher, peanut butter taster. And PR. Wow, this is really fun. I like this exercise. So in answer to what I was, my last job was as a cleaner. I was the cleaner at the Kettering Park Hotel, and I worked as the cleaner there for 5 years. And the reason that I share this with people is because there's lots of misconceptions about authors. I meet and speak to so many people and they say to me, I could never become an author because, and they've just got a really long list of excuses about their teacher told them when they were 8 years old that they couldn't spell properly, or their ex-partner told them that they would never make anything of themselves, or so many different reasons. So I share that my last job was as a cleaner, just to show you that it does not matter where you came from, what you used to do, that when you write from your heart, that is what connects you to your audience. And actually what people want is real life stories, and they want relatable stories. So whether or not you've ever been inspired to write a book, or whether or not this is something that you want to do, just think about using your story as part of your business, because this is your unique selling point, not your only one, but it's a very unique part of you that makes you more relatable to your audience. The more that I've opened up and shared my story with people, the bigger increase that I've seen in my business. That's what I found people relate to me most about, is my story. So it's also worth mentioning that when I turned up for my job interview as the cleaner, I nearly didn't go in. I sat in the car park at the Kettering Park Hotel and thought, somebody like me should not be working somewhere like this. I nearly didn't go in because my self-esteem and confidence was that low. I didn't actually believe that I deserved to be the cleaner at the Kettering Park Hotel. So that is my background. I still love that Sean used to think I was in the police. That's really made me laugh. So writing for wellness. So since I discovered that it had helped me so much with releasing my emotions, I then started to look into other people that had researched this as well. And there's a man called Mr. Pennybaker, who is the author of a book called Opening Up. And I'm just going to read to you what I wrote about his book and the discoverings from his book, because I found it really fascinating. So the book's called Opening Up. Opening Up summarizes 10 years of scientific research into the connection between opening up about deeply troubling, emotionally difficult, or extremely traumatic events and positive changes in the brain and immune function. In carefully controlled experiments done whilst he was a professor of psychology, Pennybaker and his associates made the extremely important discovery that writing can be an avenue to that interior place where we confront traumas and put them to rest, to heal both the body and the mind. So let me know, it'd be interesting to know in the comments, does that surprise you that when I read that, I thought that's really powerful, because like I said, from a personal perspective, I found it very interesting that when I've written about troubling times that they've helped me. But when I found out that there'd been 10 years of scientific research, and this man, he was a psychologist, and I don't know if I want to say the word scientifically proven, but that gives a lot of evidence that this isn't just some wishy-washy mindset malarkey, that's actually got some real substance to it. So just let me know if this is like opening your mind a little bit to the power of writing and how it might help. And I just wrote down some of the benefits about why writing, like why would you want to write? Because some people find it difficult even to talk about their own challenges that they're going through. I know that when I went to see the counsellor, I felt like I was sat naked. All I knew was his first name, and he's like, tell me your life, tell me about your life. And I was like, okay, like, I know nothing about you, and now you're expecting me to open up. I found it quite challenging. So the benefits about writing is that it provides an alternative to talk-based therapies. Like I say, some people, when you're going through a challenging time, they find it very difficult to speak about it. So writing is a great alternative because you don't need to actually express your emotions to another person. It enhances feelings of motivation and wellness. It promotes an increase in focus and mindfulness. It helps you to gain a new perspective on challenging situations. It helps to increase your self-awareness. It helps to release anxiety and stress. It encourages you to work through personal blocks and self-limiting beliefs. It increases self-kindness. It empowers you to work through your life story, giving your life meaning and purpose. And I thought you might like this last one. It reduces anger and isolation. Woo, woo. We all like a bit of that at the moment. So this was like really interesting to find all of this. I'm just going to have a look at the comments. So Emma has said, it doesn't surprise me at all. A long time ago, I used to deliver training on stress management and writing down, oh, I've now lost the comment. And writing down your thoughts came up as part of my course. Fantastic. John says it definitely allows you to connect with experiences and express them in a different way. Definitely agree. Karen says, writing helps to give me clarity, whether that's in my blog or my own journal. And Gordon said, it doesn't surprise me. One of the common themes from my book, Overcoming Redundancy, is the people who fare best are those who talk about what's happened, talk about their feelings, and talk about what they might do next. Absolutely. Those that clam up do the worst. Absolutely. And Mark and Jules say, from first-hand experience of writing our book, it's definitely reduced anxiety. Fantastic. Well, I'm really happy that we're all in agreement that that it can help you. So on to the practical exercise. Does everyone have a pen and paper to hand, or if you want to write this on your laptop, you can. I don't mind if you, some people prefer to write by hand, some people prefer to actually type it. We're not going to be going into full book writing mode or anything like that. And I'm going to give you some prompts to help you to continue to write, if that makes sense. I didn't prepare any slides, but I'm just wondering if I actually write them in the comments, that might be easier as well. So I'm just going to write down the first one. If anyone doesn't feel that they want to take part in this now and that they would like to do it later, again, that's absolutely fine. Some people, you know, you do need to feel like you're in the right space for this, but I just thought, let's just take this opportunity to see what comes up. So you can say if you want to take part now, or you can write the prompts down and do it later. This is something that I encouraged the authors in my last book to do. The first part of the book was writing a chapter about overcoming adversity, and then the second part of the book was to write a message back to their younger self. And all of them said that this was the most therapeutic part of the book. And everyone that has read it has also given me that same feedback, that they absolutely love these messages back to their younger self. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one who, we can be our own worst enemy, can't we? And we just sometimes do not realise how far we've come, how far we've moved on in life, and how we've dealt with things. So I'm just going to write the first prompt in the comments. Okay, so you can either write this, say, on your pen, with your pen and paper, or you can write it on your laptop, or you can come back to it later if you want. So the first prompt is, if I could go back in time and speak to my younger self, I would want to tell her, or if you're a man, I would want to tell him. I'm going to write the next one out, so that there's 4. I think, yeah, there's 4 of these. So I'll just write out the next one. So if you want to carry on writing from that now, then you are welcome. The next one is, I wish I had known. The next prompt is being able to survive everything. Oh, I've made a spelling mistake then. Authors aren't always great at spelling. Being able to survive everything I have been through, not had, I have been through, has shown me that. And the final one is, I now feel. And I'll just say, whilst you're writing, I'll just say that there is no right or wrong here. And as you're writing it, don't worry about your spelling, don't worry about your punctuation, don't worry about your grammar, don't think about logic. The whole point of this is just to come from your heart and onto the page. And if it evokes any emotion, that's completely normal. Don't fight that emotion. If you're going to spend some time on this exercise later and you want to like fully go into it, you may wish to do a meditation before, or light a candle and just have some quiet time, maybe with some relaxing music playing. You can go into this as much as you want. So now, you know, you might write a couple of sentences, but you may wish to do this later and write a couple of pages on it. You can go as deep as you want. So I would just give you a few moments. Mark, if you just give me a thumbs up, are we okay for time? Like another 5 minutes, another couple of minutes, okay for time? So yeah, I don't know what time I started speaking at, but, yeah, I'll give you another couple of moments to, oh great, thank you. Couple of moments to write out your message back to your younger self. And if anyone has any questions or any comments, feel free to pop those in the box. I could have actually played some relaxing music. Someone said about singing, didn't they? I'm not going to sing for you, but I could have put some music on in the background. I always write to music, always. I find that if I don't write to music, then that little voice in my head tries to interrupt me, and it makes me question what I'm writing. It makes me second guess myself. So I always write to music. I always listen through headphones. It just helps to block out the cheeky little voice in my head that's trying to put any doubts into my mind. So perhaps some lift music. I'm not sure what lift music is. Music in a lift? I don't know. What's lift music? I don't know. Elevator music. So how's everyone got on? I know that it's not been much time, and like the point was, the point of today is more to, I guess, sow some seeds for you. I know, you know, sometimes we're so busy like trying to help other people that it's really important just to come back to yourself and your own emotional wellness. So I hope that today is helping just to sow some seeds that, you know, by writing to release your own emotions, that it can help with your own emotional wellness. And I think I will just mention as well that even like freestyle writing, when you're not following a guide, that can be very therapeutic as well. If somebody or something, a situation has particularly upset you, it can be very therapeutic just to write with absolutely no guide whatsoever, but just to literally let rip on the page and say anything and everything that you need to get out, whether that includes swear words or anything. I've done this on many, many occasions, and I wouldn't even want to read back what I've written. Sometimes I've done it in pencil because I don't even want to see what I'm writing, but it just needs to get out of my head. So it's worth mentioning as well that even if this doesn't feel like you might, you know, even if this does, you know, feels aligned or doesn't feel aligned, sometimes just that freestyle writing, getting all your emotions out onto a bit of paper, rip it up, put it in the bin, that can be very therapeutic as well. Sorry, I'm just seeing some of the comments coming through. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not. Okay, so sounds silly, but struggling to choose between writing in French or English. Okay, that's okay. So it's whatever feels right for you. And this isn't a normal situation, is it, to do this on Zoom, but it might be something that you know, go away and do later on your own. Karen said, really useful. We'll reflect on the questions later. Absolutely, that's fantastic. Oh, Jackie said, and burn it. Yes, I love a good burning session, but be careful, have water to hand. Don't start any fires if you're burning. Karen said, do I write or type? When I did this for the book, I actually typed it. But if I'm doing free writing, then I like to write it. So either, again, it's whatever feels, there is no right or wrong, whatever feels right for you. Fabulous. So I think that's kind of everything really. I'm just checking I didn't write anything else. That's it. I will just say, if anyone would like to read any of my books, I did an offer to, I can't even remember, times all merging together, about a week ago. I did an offer and made all of my books free on Kindle for 3 days, and I had over 600 downloads of them, which was fantastic. So I just wanted to extend that offer to anyone in the group. If any of my books piqued your interest and you thought, oh, you know, I'd quite like to read that, just if you can send me an email, I'll put my email address in the comments. Just send me an email with which book you'd like to read, and I will send you over the PDF copy. Just trying to remember my email address now. Yeah, fabulous. That's my, so if you want any to read any of the books, feel free to send me a message and just let me know which books you'd like, and I will email them to you. Just checking if there's any more questions. Akim said, I would really like to know how you structure a book, what techniques you use, and how to get 100 pages full. So that is all in my Share Your World book. So if you want to pop me an email to get that, Akim, that this does include how I structure books and how to write an outline. John said, younger self, head down, it will get easier. I wish I had known it was okay. Fabulous. Being able to survive, I can, but at what cost? I now feel good at adversity, could be better living. Thank you, John, for sharing that. That's fantastic. If anyone wanted to share any of their answers, you're more than welcome to pop those in the comments. Thank you, John, for sharing. Sean said, really great talk. Thank you, Sean. David said, thank you. Really interesting. Jackie said, good exercise. Thank you. And Karen says, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. So I really hope that's given you some insight into writing or becoming an author, or both. And yeah, that's over and out from me. Thank you very much.